All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Crow, and I am the founder of Apogy. And this is a part of our Change Leader Speaker Series where I interview experts, academics, change leaders, wellness experts. And today I have Roger Watson with me. He is with Stracl. And I'm so excited to have him on because I know my community, my clients, they're always asking about what tools can I use to make my job even more effective, make me more effective, and also extend some of that ownership of leading change out to the business. So Roger, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate having you on. Do you want to give just a quick bio about what Stracl is and a little bit about your story? Because we were talking before and you weren't always in change management. So yeah, please let us know who you are.
Well, Jessica, thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I really appreciate this opportunity to communicate with you all, Jessica's audience. So I am based in San Mateo, California, and you can see our logo here, Stracl. So we are software. It's basically change management, organizational change management SaaS for the enterprise. This software has been used by large corporations, even by states, internationally for the last 6 or 7 years, and we've just launched the Stracl web app, which we will probably get into in this conversation. As to my backstory and how do I arrive here, I am a transplant from Europe. I was started out in banking for a long time. Then I moved from investment banking to retail banking at Citibank. I worked for a subsidiary that brought me to the US. And then I started out in technical communication and training. I have a passion for training. That led to the first business, which was basically technical communication. And then what we found over time as we moved it from Southern California to Northern California was that our customers were interested in change management, and we really had the backbone in terms of communication and training. And as we moved and slipped our business into consultancy and training, we really got wrapped up into that to the point that we were just adopted and fully utilized the ACMP standard for change management. The volunteers and all the hard work that was put into that was just incredible. We picked that up. At our peak, we were probably about 1.5 to 2 million US dollars in terms of a consultancy practice. And then we started building software to help our change management practitioners go faster, to provide better results for our clients on high-risk projects. So we weren't working on in a general sense. We were generally hired when there was some large change adoption and there was risk. And then this last year, we effectively moved the software out of JTask. JTask is still providing training. And right now, my focus is really around our vision for Stracl and the application. And we've just launched the Stracl web app. So that brings you right up to speed, Jessica.
Yes, thank you for sharing that with everyone. It's an interesting trajectory, but it also makes sense in so many ways. So we're both connected to the ACMP, which is a fabulous entity resource. If you are in the change management profession or interested, check it out. One of the benefits is they have this thing called ACMP Global Connect, and a lot of the conversation on ACMP Global Connect is about metrics, data. How do I get information about how things are going and how do I report out on it? And so what's really cool about the tool that you shared with me about your web app is that a lot of what you provide is that automation, the organization, the real-time information that I think is what many change management professionals are looking for. At the same time, in terms of where you see the future of change management headed, you talked to me a little bit about moving the decision-making, moving the accountability back into the business. Do you want to explain that a little bit for the people
Sure.
who are listening to this conversation, watching this conversation, what your thoughts are on that?
Sure. So there's some big trends that we've noticed. I've been around for a while. And, I think there's two particular terms that are really important to, lock down. First of all, that's change implementation and change adoption. The ACMP standard does a great job about that. So, historically, we've been all focused in supporting that change implementation. But now the language is we can provide all the tech or all the solutions. We've got everything very, very quickly. The battle is obviously the adoption, the ability to adopt the future state to get the benefits. And we also see that change management has a huge, important role. They're responsible, or we see them as responsible, for obviously reducing risk post-change implementation to ensure there's consistent performance no massive dips in productivity, no massive disruption, and those benefits are realized as soon as possible. I mean, most CEOs, based on some research that we read, were losing their jobs through mismanagement of change, and it's around those high-risk projects. So we're really focused in our solution around that area, and what we're trying to do is give solutions to the change management profession, to the professionals who are working out there, who are so talented, so capable of being able to provide data to the business to drive and get better results faster and quicker. So, Jessica, you've seen out there, everybody's talking about agile. So we've got to break that apart. This agile software development process that's been around since 2001. We understand that. But outside of agile, if you're not developing software, it's very clear from the Agile Alliance, how do you re-engineer your existing processes? Well, in change management, how do we become agile? Do we slap the word agile in front of change management and say we're agile? Do we go in and take training and communications and slot it into some model or methodology that is being marketed? No, we can do better. We can do so much better. We can basically provide better solutions with technology to allow talented people out there to provide solutions to customers. I know we're going to get into that, but I want to basically stop there and maybe just collect my thoughts with regard to your next question.
Yeah. So, what I was thinking about as you were describing what you were just describing is, part of the benefit too here and having this solution, having the web app tool, is the workforce is highly distributed today, more so than it ever has been over the past 3 years. More people are working from home, hybrid or full time. And that has had a direct impact on the way that change management professionals do their job, because, and even consultants, right, who are used to going and visiting on site, that has slowed down in many ways or has stopped. And some of it's picking up, but not in the same way that it used to be. So part of the benefit of your tool that I'd like you to explain to the audience is how it can reach employees, reach impacted stakeholders, regardless of their location, and have it be driven by their supervisor, by their boss, which is, when it comes to change, we all want to hear about it from the person who is leading and guiding us, right? Our boss or supervisor. And this is something where, as a change management professional, if you don't have the relationships with that brand new stakeholder, or they live far away and you don't have those interactions on a regular basis, how do you connect? How do you engage with people at scale? And so tell us a little bit about how the web app does that for organizations, because I thought that was a really interesting way of maintaining engagement and also reporting out on it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's break that down. So first of all, let's go back to the premise that when we started out, we want to re-engineer existing processes so that we can deliver it quicker and faster, and obviously remote. From Australia to, Johannesburg to Buenos Aires to Chicago. So wherever anybody is. And secondly, we wanted to put it back in the hands of the business. So let's take the survey process. What is the traditional process? The traditional process today is, well, we're going to download, from the org directory, we're going to create a Excel spreadsheet. We're going to write the survey. We're going to decide with the customer whether it's Quadralix, or we're going to use SurveyMonkey, or we're going to use we're going to use Google Forms, or we're going to use, Microsoft 365. We then go back to HR. We've got to make sure that that is checked and it's approved. And then it comes out of the change management team's email box, or from some central location, followed up by a manager. And on top of that, it's a one-time you're done, meaning that you basically can't update or change your mind on any of those. So if we take that process, we want to change that. Rather than coming from the change management organization, we wanted to come from your example, the local boss that's in that particular field. So what we've done is we've moved surveys directly into the web app with all of the other information. So it's not there's tools out there that can provide surveys, mobile surveys. Our point is that it's all connected with the tool that the change management person has. That's our SaaS. And the survey can be updated and changed real time. It is frozen at the end of the month, and the manager in that location can communicate to his or her team to ask them to make changes. So what we've done there is we basically do not have to go back to HR. It's all inside of the web app. It's just that much simpler. We've taken out what we think is a large amount of time and permissions because it's all inside the web app. And the last point is, in terms of engagement, if that local manager decides that he or she does not want to actually require his team to provide any feedback on that interactive tool to give their score on the change, that's fine. But that's also a data point that tells you that you've got misalignment with that management team, and you need to fix that, because otherwise you won't get the disruption, you won't get the adoption you need. That would be my answer. And there's multiple areas that are basically can be re-engineered. In other words, we're fundamentally looking at the agile. What can we do differently than we did before 5-10 years ago to accelerate, to adapt, to change quicker? That's what we're focused at. Every area, from steering committee meetings to stakeholder engagement, to pushing out enhanced, improved designs, to providing video blogs to allow net promoter scores on the performance of the change management and the project management team, not to criticize or find fault, but to ensure that we're all traveling on that path to adoption so that the organization gets the benefits.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the other benefits of being able to use a tool like that as a change leader in an organization is that you're able to create a level of transparency, of data-driven transparency versus judgment-driven. I think that's been something that you and I have talked about as well. But, when it comes to big change, risky change, high-risk change, having transparency, accountability, and effective communication is so important. And I think the tool really enables a lot of that just by having something that you can take a look at and respond to and react to and take action on. So I thought that was a really neat way of kind of thinking about how do I as a change management professional, how do I as a business leader bring these two worlds together? And this tool does that in many ways through the information that you can collect. And then also the information that's provided to the stakeholder who needs to understand what's happening with the change. What other trends are you seeing in terms of the world of change management? So, we're talking now about moving a lot of the manual, disparate processes that change management professionals are currently applying to moving it into a software solution, your SaaS solution. What other trends are you seeing that if I'm a change leader in an organization, I should be thinking about, that's on the horizon, that I should be aware of, that could influence the future of the work that I'm doing over the next 5-10 years?
Yes, I think there's a number of different themes out there. So what we see from, I'm now speaking with my training hat on in the classes that we run, is that now 50% of our students, and we do a poll at the beginning, and our class sizes could be 15 to 20 people, and this has been consistent, are project managers. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, the implementation cycle times that I experienced 10 years ago with setting up servers and a whole bunch of other stuff, especially in the technology space, took a lot of time. That's gone now. You can have as much tech or as much as solution using technology or as much change as you want very, very quickly. So project managers are looking to move back into strategy. They're looking to move into change management, and they're looking to move into benefit realization. This is based on what we hear in our classes. Now, well, there's another factor. If you go back to PMI, which is the largest heavyweight organization out there in terms of project management, we're not talking agile right now. We're talking about standard PMP. Their certification in 2021 is made up of 35 tasks that was based on analysis of what project managers do. 30% of those are change management tasks. The change management activities inside the PMP curriculum is very parallel to what we're doing in change management. Now, that's one trend. Now you can go to the ATD. You can go to organizations. It's like back in, 10, 15 years ago, there was a big push on quality. Everybody was getting quality training. Now, change management is good and bad, whatever somebody's opinion or whatever it is, or regurgitating whatever they've heard, is rolled up inside of a lot of a professional organization. So trend is a lot of people talking about change management. We know that. It's not necessarily they will come through the ACMP. They will come through other organizations. Whether that will continue to be called change management or just part of project management, I don't know. Another trend I see is that it's very popular in the C-suite. You might see human resources and change.
Mm-hmm.
We're adding change to C-suite jobs when these groups may not have any direct experience in change, but they might say they do.
Right.
In other words, that is some trend. So, but what we also see is that, or what we feel now, this is what we're saying, is we see a lot of, I went to a Southern California presentation last night on agile change management. I've got a PMI presentation coming up about agile outside of tech.
Mm-hmm.
There is a discussion, and what I think it does for us, whether you agree with it or not, whether you want to relabel a model and call it agile, I think the real question on the thing is, what are we going to do to our business processes to deliver greater value, faster productivity, just like agile software development? Are we going to be doing what we did 5-10 years ago? Because I can tell you 20 years ago, nothing has changed.
I agree with you.
Right?
I agree with you. The profession hasn't changed a lot in terms of the approach and how it's, implemented within the organization. I have seen too the trend that you mentioned about embedding change management within human resources. That's pretty common these days. Where I'd like to see change management, if it is a standalone entity, or if project management, I've seen that too, where more project managers are responsible for the change management activities because of the level of risk or the size or the scope. It just doesn't necessitate, in many cases, in some cases, having a dedicated resource in addition to the project manager. So I'm seeing that too. But I'd love to see change management as part of the strategy and innovation team, and really getting upstream in terms of the decision making and having a level of influence there, and then carrying that throughout the implementation of the project, and using tools like Stracl and other tools that may be out there to really inform the entire process and how things are going. As you know, change that doesn't get sustained has zero value to the organization. So I think we do have to get better at this, because we're not seeing, at least I'm not seeing, the way that we're approaching things. There's a lot of room for growth, a lot of room for opportunity. And I think having tools that enable professionals will be one of those ways that we do that. One other area, and what I liked, and I was, you walked me through the questions, which were interesting to me. So part of where I focus is developing organizational resilience, because in my mind, that is equivalent to organizational readiness, which means organizational agility. So there was a wellness survey in your tool. What are your thoughts on the concept of, building organizational resilience as part of what you do as a project manager, change management professional? Are you seeing that in the organizations, the states that you're working with, or is that still more kind of a conversation that is yet to be had in terms of the scope of responsibility of someone who is a change management professional?
So there's a lot of thoughts bubbling in my head to your questions, because there's just so many different ways. I'll take one point, and then you can drag me back and say, Roger, I want to also probe into this area. But one of the interesting things is that if we both believe, you and I, that we want to move the role of the needle on where change management is into the strategic area, all we're trying to say in Stracl is that we need to give you extra tools, and we need to give you time back, because the reason not there in that C-suite right now is because you're down there managing and doing lookup fields in spreadsheets, grabbing 4 or 5 tools to achieve all of the goals, unable to have innovative tools to provide you with real-time data, and you're basically carrying the bag for this implementation on your back. You need to move it to the business. Now, if we move it to the business, then you can be strategic. Then you can make those choices. So then you can start looking innovative stuff, like there's all the nudge theory, the challenges, the behavioral change. There is so much talent in our industry out there, but you haven't had a vehicle or a capability to do that. Maybe Stracl fails, but if we put some path down there, maybe somebody else out there will recognize it's not spreadsheets, it's not flat surveys, it's not, Tableau, it is not all of these tools. You need something to give you back that productivity, to allow change management people to basically get to the C-suite, to give the answers to people, because they're getting real-time data feeds. That's our vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What are some of the biggest misconceptions, do you think, as it relates to the change management profession industry today, in terms of, if I'm a C-suite executive, what am I not understanding about change management? What are you saying? Where's the disconnect?
I think it's closing rapidly. I want to go back 10 years when I was, in front of a C-suite and I was introduced as change management. And they said, one executive joked and said, well, you organize the go live party, don't you? That was the view of our profession, right? That has changed dramatically. I think they do understand. I think they do understand adoption. I think they understand adoption because they're all looking at change management, not just internally, but in the sense that it's almost part of, or given a different name, inside marketing. Because if you don't adopt, if you look at all of the large applications out there, it's all about adoption, because you won't get repeat business. You've got these contracts, you've got these SaaS solutions. They may not see it as adoption, they may see it as sales and marketing. From a fact of using everything from Zoom, we can go to other solutions. They're all over adoption, right? You can hear large organizations talking about camera time. You're talking about measuring how much time I'm talking, how much time you're talking. I don't think they don't get it. We might not get what we can do and what's possible to, support these executives, because there's a window of opportunity before maybe we won't be here, we'll be reclassified in other areas. Because the ACMP is not large, it's not large, and we've got so much talent. I think we've just got to move up the value chain and fight for that position. And if we don't have data feeds or ideas for executives, they will move on past us. I think they get it.
Yeah.
I think we don't get it.
Yeah, I agree with that in some way. I think where I am seeing somewhat of a disconnect is that, a lot of these large scale investments in new ERPs or HRMs, that it's going to happen regardless. And I think that is the mentality of some of the C-suite leaders, that it's happening and the train isn't stopping, and therefore everybody will just get on board because they have no other choice. At some point, that solution is getting turned off and they won't have, that'll be it, which is the reality. At the same time, I do see the role and the opportunity for change leaders is to, how do you make that entire process less painful, because you care about the culture and have compassion for your workers and you want them to stay and you don't want them to feel like they don't belong or their voices aren't heard, which is a much softer, difficult to quantify conversation, especially with, you're talking to the COO. They may not resonate quite as much, but I am seeing a change in the appetite for that type of conversation because of what the world has experienced over the past 3 years. There's much greater awareness of the need to care for your people in a different way. And part of the role of the change leader is having the data to prove that what we're doing it's important and it matters, and also having those important conversations about heart and relationships and caring for humans. So I think that some CEOs, C-suite executives, they get that, and then maybe a little bit better than others. So that's kind of what I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that. In fact, that is designed into our application. So we have a section on wellness where if the C-suite decides to deploy that, again, if they decide to do it, they can ask questions like, do you have the capacity to support this change? Feel that this change is positive for you? Do you feel that your goals and your reward system is realigned to this? You can also incentivize with behavioral changes and nudges through challenges to ask people to do that based on a leaderboard. Yeah, we get that soft side.
Yeah.
And we think that data can be passed and real time is irrefutable, rather than the change team, coming back and trying to calculate that. And as you know, from the C-suite, you can be in that room and you can present data based on surveys that you ran a couple of months ago, and you've got some to, and some executive says, no, that's not correct.
Yeah.
Now it's gone, right? Now we've designed it so that there is no doubt. You've either somebody voted up or voted it down. And if you're so worried, they could change it 3 hours before that steering committee meeting, but the facts don't lie. You're not debating that, right?
Yeah.
And And ideas, again, let's talk positive here. Like you talk about, Kotta talks about a sense of urgency. You talk about nudges and challenges and ideas. Make it fun.
Yeah.
Build challenges into the change that's going to, enable your less experienced workers to have a taste. They can go out and get reward for talking to people on LinkedIn about their experiences.
Yep.
So how would you have time to do that when you're handling spreadsheets the same way you did with lookup tables, and you're trying to learn code in Tableau, even though it's super simple, to calculate how you're going to build a dashboard? Well, you'll be a great dashboard jockey at the end, or follow a process that's being thought through, that's giving you the tools so that you can provide, you don't try and reinvent an X-ray. You're the doctor who's looking at those broken bones, because the change management people will get the job done. I have no doubt, none.
Absolutely.
But they need
Absolutely.
tools.
Yes, I would agree. We need more higher tech tools than I think what we're using now. Of course, the low tech tools work, but man, to have a something like Stracl is a big benefit. Roger, where can people get in touch with you? How do they connect with you? How do they learn more about your firm and the web app? Where do they go?
So stracl.com, stracl.com, right behind me. There's a contact form. You can get a demo. My email is super simple. It's roger.watson@stracl.com. And I'm on the California time zone. And I would be delighted to share my knowledge and thoughts in this particular area. And I am confident there are change management people and leaders out there that want to do things differently. They want to think agile. They're just looking for that gap or that opportunity or some ideas to do it.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, I learned a lot from this conversation and from the demo, so definitely encourage you to take Roger up on his offer. It's a really neat tool. Take a look at it. And I also, we don't have to mention the price point, but very, very compelling. I'll say that. So I think very low barrier to entry if you are someone who is wanting to up level as a change leader. So thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I am excited to share this with my community. I think they're going to get a lot of value out of it, and I hope you get a lot of phone calls and requests for appointments. But thank you so much for taking time to connect with me today, Roger. Have a great rest of your day.
Jessica, thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Definitely. Take care.